Hey everybody, it is late. I am tired. Yeah, so I do need this. Me and Stacey were just talking about stop doing this in the room, and I was like, "Oh, don't make me leave." She's like, "No, it's fine." Why do I stay in here? She makes me laugh. She starts laughing. I start laughing.
It's just your, hey, everybody. I mean, it's like your voice immediately changes from
Uh,
talk, like the way you're talking right now. But when you first start, you're like,
oh yeah, because I'm like, oh, I'm never just like
hey, everybody.
I'm always awkward, so I was always like, "Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome to the evening. Welcome to the night show. Verse of the day." Um, so anyway, this is talking about the verse of the day. So I saw this morning, 4:30 in the morning when my daughter woke up, and then the dog was like, "Oh, I want to go outside." So opened my phone, saw the verse of the day, and was like, "Lord, give me this peace to not go crazy." But today's verse of the day is Psalm 60, chapter 63, verses 3 and 4. So I'll read. And I usually read from the New Living Translation, but if your translation works for you, go for it. Um, the verse says, your unfailing love is better than life itself. How I praise you. I will praise you as long as I live, lifting up my hands to you in prayer. Um, Such an awesome verse, such a verse that can, I mean, even if you don't memorize this verse, I think this is almost like words that you might just say, or you might not just say, but that you would say in giving praise to God. Again, whether that's in a congregational type of worship or it's just in your own personal time of prayer. Um, so, again, to give just more background of this verse, again, when you read the heading of it, Psalms, not all of them, but many of them do give you a little bit of a background. So, the top of 63, it says, a Psalm of David regarding a time when David was in the wilderness of Judah. So, from what I've read, I don't know exactly when. Some have said that like it was before when he was young, and then some think maybe it was like continuing on from yesterday when David was fleeing from Absalom and he was in the desert. Either way, it's a time that David was in the desert. And he kind of talks about in verse 1 and 2 about seeking God, that his soul is thirsty for God. And it uses that kind of poetry parallel of the way our body physically thirsts for water. And you would imagine in a desert how thirsty you would be to the spiritual desire that need to quench. So there's that. So there's this idea, really setting the tone of needing God. But what I think what makes verses 3 and 4 so much more powerful is this idea of when David's physically in a desert, he's stripped of, and if we are looking at it in the time of David losing his throne to Absalom or whatever, you're in the desert, he's alone without water, the sun beating down on him, in wilderness, in just, this says wilderness, doesn't say of Judah, but Judah, anyway, it is a desert area, struggling, to stay cool. And even though David was used to the wilderness, just still this idea of being separated. So with all this, that David still turns around. So he's with that, and then in verse 2, this is not part of it, but he says, I see you in your sanctuary and gazed upon your power and glory. And with that, he's able to then say, regardless of what's going on, that your unfailing love is better than life itself. So we've talked about about you growing older and your body withers and decays, and even through all of that, you still your soul continues to grow. Your soul moves forward, because that's the thing. As you come to know Christ more, that's where you grow. So as your body is like, we're done. You ain't got nothing else to give. Your soul continues to move forward. It continues to desire and to grow in God. So your unfailing love, God, is better. So when I'm deciding on what do I want, God, do I desire to have more of my life and let that be the thing that I grasp onto, that I cling to, that I uplift? Or is it, but then it's like, in comparison to your unfailing love, my life is worth nothing. I mean, it's incomparable. So in that, because of your unfailing love, I just have to praise you. My body, my soul is just like, your love is so much more than anything I've had. So I need to, I'm just compelled to give you my praise. Um, and then the next part, I will praise you as long as I live. So this, again, it's so, Lord, I don't choose life compared to your unfailing love. I choose to worship, to praise you because of your unfailing love. So even though my days are short in this life, with the days that I do have, Lord, that my body will be used to praise you, that I will lift you up with my voice, that I will lift you up with my life. And then the last part of verse 4 says, lifting up my hands to you in prayer. And it was all like different parts of scripture talking about the lifting of hands, and then even just, socially, culturally, lifting up your hands in prayer, whether it's at church or whatever situation that you do it in. But I think a lot of times it's speaking of the idea of surrender. And, yes, I mean, sometimes in messages, they'll talk about, if a person comes up to you with a gun and the first thing you do is lift up your hands, or a soldier, when they're giving up, they lift up their hands. And this is so much more, this is not in the sense of being attacked or being threatened, but it's like, God, again, because of your unfailing love, my life means nothing. So in that, I lift up my hands to you, God, as a surrender of my will, as a surrender of my of the praise that I may hold. I lift it, I give it to you. So it's not just me fanning you, God, like, yeah, using my hands to praise you, but it's saying I will praise you as long as I live. So with my mouth, with my words, I will praise you, God. And with my hands are lifted up in a sign of surrender to you in prayer. So I love that, again, this idea, and I think it goes so well with, as we have Thanksgiving this Thursday, this the theme of thankfulness, that situations around us may be troubling, regardless if that's a global level, the country level, or it's just in your own personal life where you're like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna, like, what do I have to be thankful about? Or it's going to be tough this Thanksgiving to just really enjoy anything. And yet, David, being in the desert, being in the wilderness, was able to turn, and like verse 2, was gazed upon the power and glory of God. And so again, your unfailing love is better than life itself, and how I praise you. I will praise you as long as I live, lifting up my hands to you in prayer. So I just hope, as you guys go into this week, that you have that spirit of, current situation is not great, but my life, what I'm going through, can't even compare to the unfailing love God has bestowed upon me. So in that, God, I will give you praise. I may not feel like it, I may not want to, but in the presence of your glory and of your power, I am, my soul and my body is just like, I have to do this, because not to get anything, but it's just, you deserve it. So that's today's verse. I hope you guys are blessed by it, because I was. And yeah, we'll talk to y'all tomorrow.